Thanks, dear viewers, for joining us on this edition of the Primetime Newscast on Equinoxe Television, live from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. I am Bable Jonathan. In our top stories in this edition of the news, Cameroon's Minister of Territorial Administration, Tanganji Paul, threatens to shut down Equinoxe Radio and Television and 3 other media outlets over allegations of plans to destabilize Cameroon by some international non-governmental organizations. The minister has also given officials of non-governmental organizations on the Cameroonian territory 60 days to submit the report covering the period 2016 to 2018 to the Political Affairs Department of the Ministry of Territorial Administration. He was speaking today in Yaoundé. Stay with us. Thanks for joining us on this edition of the news. I am Bable Jonathan. We begin this newscast in the northwest regional chief town, Bamenda, where an explosion sent panic waves down the spines of administrative authorities and other inhabitants of the town. The explosion occurred yesterday, not far from the commercial venue ceremonial ground during the celebration of the International Women's Day. Our correspondent in Bamenda, Stella, reports.
Especially at this time when threats to peace are becoming a universal concern and a major challenge for our states.
Adjacent the Grandstand Commercial Avenue, few meters away from Tribune A loud noise is heard as Governor Adolphe Lafrique addresses women on the occasion of the 35th edition of the International Women's Day. It was loud enough to cause panic, suspending the governor's address for at least 10 minutes.
It gives us an opportunity to rally together behind our head of state government, our armed forces, to fight against the enemy who is trying to disturb. And we all know that as a result of the crisis, the women of the Northwest region are those that are suffering a lot from the atrocities and the negative impact of the crisis.
Governor Adolphe Lafrique blames the act on those he calls terrorists and promises severe sanctions on the perpetrators.
It's a good opportunity for me to congratulate the board and patriotic women who came to march to celebrate their day today and to send a strong message to the perpetrator of the incident that they will be prosecuted, sanctioned in keeping with the laws and regulations of the Republic. And I'm giving my word here that measures will be taken to sanction them, to punish them, so that it shouldn't occur in a market in Bamenda.
The incident left at least 5 persons wounded. Despite the wave of panic that gripped the occasion, the Northwest Chief Executive for the first time accompanied the women in a march past.
In the same vein, the celebration of the International Women's Day in the chief town of the southwest region, Boya, yesterday was marked by the Anglophone crisis. The celebration was half-mass celebration in the town of Boya, as some few women, however, braved the odds to go to the Bongo Square ceremonial ground to take part in the celebration of the International Women's Day amid a tense atmosphere as a result of the Anglophone crisis. Many of the women simply stayed in their homes as a result of the lockdown imposed by pro-independence fighters with the intention of disrupting the International Women's Day celebration in the town of Boya. And speaking on Equinoxe Television yesterday in the program La Vérité en Face, Christopher Fomonyo, Africa Director of the Democracy Institute, based in Washington, the United States of America, made a critical and in-depth analysis of the Anglophone crisis, indicating that all efforts of the government have not been right, because they have not produced the expected fruits. Innocent.
Continuous killings of innocent civilians in Anglophone Cameroon. Mid-tears run down the cheeks of Dr. Christopher Famunyo, Senior Associate for Africa and Human Rights Advocate on the program La Vérité en Face on Équinoxe Television.
Sorry about that.
He reveals how international actors who make declarations, including members of the United States Congress, get emotional when talks arise about the unscrupulous assassinations in the two English-speaking regions of Cameroon, with deaf ears, paid calls for a ceasefire.
Senators and members of Congress, that every time they talk about Cameroon, they get extremely emotional about it, because people cannot believe what's happening in our country. People cannot believe that people are being killed. Pour certains, il s'agit d'une question de statistiques.
Dr. Christopher regrets some government officials care less about the killings and are more occupied with giving statistics on death toll, debate, publish elaborate communiques to contest testimonies of others. To him, what matters is human lives, blood of innocent civilians shed in Anglophone Cameroon, where people were more civilized and respectful.
Dans le Cameroun d'aujourd'hui, qui peut nier que la zone anglophone était connue pour son respect de l'état de droit?
He says the international community and the members of the Security Council are aware of the situation ongoing in the two English-speaking regions, but have chosen to be patient before reacting.
Despite the declarations that are made in public, at the end of the day, each country has got to look at its own national interests and try to position itself with regards to Cameroon in a way that best protects those interests. But I also hope that beyond the declarations, there will be a time when concrete actions will be taken if the situation is not remedied.
But talking about the government's organized major national dialogue, the human rights advocate says it did not satisfy representatives and Anglophones.
There were senior Anglophones who participated, Cardinal Toumi, Dr. Simon Monzo, Abobala, and others participated, and that many of them today do not feel that they got the best out of the Grand Dialogue. And the proof is that more people have been killed since the Grand Dialogue than were killed in the weeks leading up to it.
For the major national dialogue to have been frank, the detained Amazonian leaders should have been invited.
You're talking about the leaders of the diaspora who couldn't make it because they couldn't come. But there were also people in Kondengi who could have contributed to these discussions, who couldn't participate. So we can draw lessons from what was accomplished and then figure out why, despite the dialogue, killings are still going on, atrocities are still going on, there's still people feeling disaffected, and what should be done as a follow-up.
He criticizes the decentralization codes and the special status adopted for the Northwest and Southwest regions.
On the contrary, what has been provided for is less than West Cameroon had when we had a federal structure. So how can you go back to people and in a straight face say that they're better off now than they were in the Federal Republic when West Cameroon was functioning as a state with its government, with its institutions, with its police that went around without pistols, with its prison system that was very educational, and nothing remains of that, and then you come up with something and you say you're going to have everything disappear, and then you don't create these things from thin air.
The Senior Associate for Africa advises governments of Cameroon must find peaceful ways out of the conflict before solutions are imposed on Cameroon by the international community, because there comes a time when perpetrators of these atrocities, whether on separatist or government side, would need to be held accountable at the International Criminal Court.
If these atrocities continue to happen, there's going to be a day when all of us will look in shame
Now we go over to Penja in the Mongo division in the Littoral region of the Republic of Cameroon, where we're going to show you a young internally displaced person who is now involved in some a specialty, notably construction, in that part of the country after she was kicked out of her home in the southwest region of the country as a result of the Anglophone crisis.
Crisis deteriorates in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. Killings and displacements remains the order of the day. Some internally displaced persons seeking refuge in safer localities now live in precarious conditions, causing some of the girls to get into prostitution and other forms of sexual exploitation. 17-year-old Akomba Silian, an internally displaced living in Njombe in the Mungo division of the Littoral region, decides not to follow the easy path but rather exploit her skills in building and construction.
I'm Akomba Silian from Waterfall. I'm here because of school, and if not because of the crisis where I came from, I won't be here. I'm the firstborn in my family. When I came here, I feel like let me come and struggle since my family are poor. Let me come and struggle and support them in one way or the other.
Though she enjoys carrying out the activity, furthering her education remains her ultimate wish.
Because here I cannot just end in chantiers, so that I can go in a professional school because building has been my passion from childhood. So if I really end here, that would be nice. So I'm begging for support.
According to her, being a girl should not limit your aspiration, but rather boost your morale.
I can say to the girls is that building like this is not just meant for the boys. It's an honor having a girl on the side, because now if a girl wants to apply for a job concerning this building work, they will instead accept her more than a boy. Because why? Girls somehow are honest more than boys.
Working in a sector generally attributed to men, Siliana Kumba surprises her colleagues and her employer. Her performance is mind-blowing. She really surprised me. Reason why I had to let her continue working with us. It's not easy to find a girl doing this type of job. We need to encourage girls like this. Akomba Silian is calling on persons of goodwill to come to her aid so she could further her education by perfecting her skills in building and construction.
And the presence of the coronavirus in the Republic of Cameroon is adversely affecting business. Some business persons are now unable to travel to China for the purchase of the goods as a result of the coronavirus outbreak, and so far 2 cases have been confirmed in the Republic of Cameroon, and some of the business persons are now running out of stock, and many of them are recording a significant loss in the income as a result of the coronavirus outbreak, and the epidemic is hindering business. They are unable to travel to China to purchase their goods. Take a listen to one of them in this extract. Take a listen to one of the business persons at the Douala Central Market in this extract. An extract of a business person in the Douala Central Market who is speaking on the coronavirus impact on business activities. They are unable to travel to China to purchase their goods. We're not going to be having that.
Become a little bit timid because there are certain goods that customer cannot afford for it, since the prices is a little bit high. Yeah, so goods coming from China are a little bit cheaper than the one coming from Turkey. I'm selling women dresses, sexy trousers, tops, nearly everything that concerns nearly everything that is sexy. Yes. No, I cannot go to China anymore. Because they have not discovered vaccine for it, for the coronavirus. So I cannot go to China right now.
Now we go back to Anglophone Cameroon to talk about the prevailing situation there that has continued to deteriorate over the years as a result of continuous violence, killings and destruction of properties going on in the northwest and southwest regions of the country. And some women in Limbe, southwest region of Cameroon, say for the first time they managed to meander through the difficult security situation to celebrate the International Women's Day for the first time in 3 years. And of course, our reporter Davidson Maimo was there and now reports.
The International Women's Day must have come and gone, but to these young women in Limbe, the memories of the 2020 celebrations shall remain fresh in their memories, owing to the fact that it is the very first time in 3 years since the Anglophone crisis escalated that they are celebrating.
We have been 3 years that we have not celebrated it because of due to the situation in the country. But we have seen until nothing is not changing, we will not kill ourselves. Brother, this celebration, we were glad because we don't believe for the past 3 years we never sit down together because of your problem for the country.
The young women cry out loud to the men, especially those within the 2 English-speaking regions, the Northwest and Southwest regions respectively, to support the women as the ongoing Anglophone crisis is making them dry.
Please, we are calling on you to assist our women. It's not easy for us. Please give up that helping hand. Financially, they affect me. Manage them for anyhow we go. They manage them.
Now we talk about the bishops of the Nkonsamba Diocese of the Roman Catholic Church who have urged Christians to be part of nation-building efforts, and His Lordship Dieudonné Espoir at Tangana made the call at the end of a 3-day pilgrimage in the Nyabang, a locality in that part of the country where the Bishop of Nkonsamba Diocese urged Christians to be part of nation-building efforts. Smanjikan Gabriel reports.
There were over 12,000 pilgrims who turned out at the annual pilgrimage organized by the Nkonsamba Diocese this year at Yambang. The prayer points at this year's pilgrimage range from the socio-political crisis in the Northwest and Southwest region to youth unemployment.
We came here for the prayers for the children that are stubborn, for the drugs that the children are taking in school, stubbornness, bad behavior of the children. We came here to pray for the change. Good students. Now some students, they don't like to go to school. Following the socio-political upheaval in our country between the North and Southwest region, he has prayed and said we need to love everyone, and that God loves everyone with no distinction, because He loves even the bad and the good people. That when big people are fighting, the young people are suffering with unemployment. Many people are just suffering, especially the young people who are going wayward because of the situation in the country.
During the mass to end the pilgrimage at Yambang, the pilgrims were urged by the Bishop of Nkonsamba Diocese to be part of nation building and to ensure the peace and stability of the country.
We received very rich teaching about laity mission in the church. We would like the whole laity and all our priests to work along together. That's the meaning of the word synod. Here in Nyabang we receive so many blessings. Let everybody be very grateful to the Lord.
The Nyambang gathering was also an opportunity for the pilgrims to drop their prayer points at the feet of Holy Mary.
The African Development Bank is stepping up efforts to enhance economic growth in countries of the Central African Economic and Monetary Community (CEMAC) zone, and some officials of the bank were meeting with economic stakeholders of the private sector in Cameroon over the weekend, and they were discussing their contribution to economic growth in the country. And we have there on the screen the Prime Minister of Sudan and the country's prime ministers and 5 military officers. And I told you in the headlines that Cameroon's Minister of Territorial Administration, Atanganji Paul, is threatening to shut down Equinoxe Television and Radio and 3 other media outlets in the Republic of Cameroon over allegations of plans to destabilize Cameroon by some international non-governmental organizations. The Minister of Territorial Administration, Atanganji Paul, was speaking in a press conference today in the nation's political capital, Yaoundé, and he also gave 60 days to officials of non-governmental organizations on the Cameroonian territory to submit their 2016, 2017, and 2018 reports to the Political Affairs Department of the Ministry. He once more accused non-governmental organizations of plans to destabilize Cameroon in collaboration with some media outlets in the country. Take a listen to Minister Atanganji Paul in this extract. All right, we're not going to be having that extract in this newscast. We'll be coming back to it in a subsequent news editions. Coming up next, talking points.
Friday, March 6, 2020 was the day for the traditional annual General Assembly grouping personnel and management of Equinoxe Radio and Television. A rare moment for senior and junior staff, old and young, to talk directly to the Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Severin Chunki, and also a moment for the team to evaluate 2019 and brainstorm long and short-run perspectives. In 2019, Equinoxe maintained its position as leader in the audiovisual landscape in Cameroon and the Central African sub-region. Numerous prizes won in several awards organized in and out of Cameroon in the course of the year are a testimony. With the widest and most objective newscasts, flagship programs like Équinoxe Soir, Droit de Réponse, Regard Social, Parole de Femmes, The Inside, These Douze Le Zénith, among others, Equinoxe conquered Cameroon through its content and the professionalism of its workers. Effort hailed by the Chief Executive Officer, who went further to distinguish outstanding staff.
Toutes les actions que nous menons au quotidien, j'allais dire tous les week-ends, toutes les semaines, permet aujourd'hui à toute l'équipe de pouvoir avoir une nouveauté, un nouveau cas toutes les semaines, question de permettre notamment à ceux qui ont perdu le sourire de retrouver le sourire.
C'est la preuve que le travail que nous faisons est suivi par les téléspectateurs à la lettre. Alors je profite également pour dire merci à mes collègues, parce que cette distinction est le fruit du travail d'une équipe dont les collègues, techniciens, journalistes et même le top management.
The Chief Executive Officer further distinguished meritorious workers running from technicians to journalists with financial awards.
I just want to thank my colleagues, technicians, because of their advice all the time that they give to me for the work that I'm doing all the time. So that's what I have to say.
Ce prix, c'est une invite pour moi à plus d'abnégation au travail et à donner le meilleur de moi, parce que je pense que le staff administratif ou le top management a cru en moi, a cru au talent dont je regorge, et je crois que par la grâce de Dieu, je vais sortir tout ce qui est là-dedans pour la satisfaction des téléspectateurs, par la grâce de Dieu, bien sûr.
Having conquered Cameroon and the Central African sub-region in 2019, Equinoxe workers and management took an engagement to become the leading audiovisual media organ in Africa, beginning 2020.
We have won all these awards. I'm sure that next year we will move forward. I'm sure that with the help of all of you and all of our televiewers, we will remain the best TV station and radio station in Cameroon, in Central Africa and in Africa.
With the above objective designed and endorsed by all, Equinoxe management promised to work relentlessly to give staff the best possible working conditions.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us in Talking Points. You're receiving a politician and educationist, Dr. Nick Gwanyam. You're welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be back with you here.
We've not heard from you for some time now. We're glad to receive you back.
Yeah, you know, during the elections, I thought I should stay off the media because I could say something that would put me in trouble.
All right. Let's begin in the northwest region of the country with the explosion that occurred at the in Bamenda yesterday, not far from the commercial venue ceremonial ground, which provoked panic across the town. When such an incident occurs not far from a heavily guarded area like the commercial avenue ceremonial ground, what can we read within the lines?
I think the Bible in Psalms 127 or something verse, I've just forgotten, but this is the thing. Unless the Lord watches over the city, the watchman labors in vain. So unless you put your trust in the Lord and do things according to the ways of the Lord, whatever you do is in vain. That's all I can say.
When we look at such incidents occurring in Bamenda, and then away from Bamenda we have another incident occurring in Galim in the west region, close to the northwest region of the country, where 4 elements of the National Armed Forces were killed, 2 gendarmes and 2 police officers, allegedly by separatists who crossed over into the west region from the northwest region of the country. What can you say about the way things are evolving with regards to the crisis?
I'm not so sure who did that in Galim, because I hear some people of Bas saying that they are the ones who did it. And then I saw a video coming from a group in Oketungia saying they're the ones who did it. But according to some arguments, you know, the arms that they were showing there, they seem to be more than what they would have gotten from Galim. So you know, it looks like, you know, some people just trying to make capital out of it. But this is the bottom line. We are arguing and talking about the incidences. Oh, children have been killed in Gabu. There has been killing in Babanki. There have been this. This will be a pattern that we'll continue to see for a very long time. And there's no point trying to discuss events. What we should be doing now is to sit down and solve the problem. Because if we don't solve the problem, the devil would keep on pushing us to become more and more violent and do such things that are not acceptable unto the Lord. You know, what you're going to see, probably the military might descend down there in Tundop and kill a lot more people, and then this one will kill this one, that one kill this one, and then everybody will keep piling the statistics and so on, and people will keep shouting. But when you look very carefully, who is dying? They are the poor that are dying. Even the military that are dying are the sons and daughters of poor families. But the real military people who have the money are not dying. They're sitting in air-conditioned offices. So they are the poor officers that are genial people that are dying there. Then the Anglophones are dying. Then whatever Amber Boys took, it's because it's a reaction to what it's a reaction because, you know, they don't have skills to do this, no work, no that. So it's not as simple as it looks. So what we ought to be doing, which makes sense, is for us to actually redefine and find out what that Anglophone problem is, and find out whether the medicine that was given during the Grand National Dialogue is the right medication, because the Grand National Dialogue was supposed to diagnose the disease and prescribe the treatment. It would look like the diagnosis and the prescription of the treatment are wrong.
And when you analyze the situation on the ground and the recent happenings, there are some politicians who are talking of a risk of a greater escalation, a risk of more violence that will not only be occurring within the Anglophone regions, but which will spill over not only to localities along the border between the northwest and the west region, the southwest and the littoral region, but which will spill further into Anglophone Cameroon.
Yes, into French Cameroon.
Into French Cameroon.
Correct. What we should realize is that, forget about, you know, just step out of it a little bit and look and stand out and look at Cameroon sitting down there. you will notice that we have problems in the north, we have problems in the east, we have problems in the northwest and southwest, and we have some other problems that are brewing in the west, in the western region, littoral, and these other areas. There is some general anger that is coming up, and you've been seeing the activities of the bus or whatever. So these just go to indicate that there is a fundamental problem that we ought to solve so that happiness can come back in the country. And then just talking on the TV and saying this or that, this communicate, that communicate, that's not the problem. The problem is that there is a problem that we are not solving.
And while the problem is not being solved, while the situation is degenerating,
yeah,
the government, notably the Minister of Territorial Administration, continues accusing non-governmental organizations, international non-governmental organizations, of plans to destabilize Cameroon, and this time around associating some media organs, including Equinoxe Radio and Television, to the allegations of plans to destabilize Cameroon and threatening to shut them down.
Well, I'm in a social media group where there are some professors who were exchanging, and they seem not to be very happy with you at Equinoxe for one reason or the other. And what the professor was saying was that, as an example, he was saying that in France, all news comes from one channel, from one source, and is distributed to the very places, so everybody is an echoing box, and they expect that in Cameroon we should also copy from France and get everybody to echo. And then I was asking him, are people not allowed to think? Is thinking a crime? Is people expressing their own ideas, is it a crime? I said, as long as they are not saying anything that can put the security of the nation in order, let's listen to what others are saying. And people just have different ways of thinking. And then someone was saying, of course, when you go to America, CNN is saying one thing, and then there's other media house that say some other things. But what at the end of the day, we are dealing with human beings, and God gave us the capacity to think and think differently, even when we see a problem. But it doesn't matter what you say. If you look at the whole thing, it's an issue of truth and lies fighting. It's an issue of a clash of two kingdoms, a kingdom of light and the kingdom of darkness, and this has been there since the time of Jesus Christ till today.
The truth and lies coming from where?
Well, there's the truth. There's the kingdom of darkness and the kingdom of light. The kingdom of light, we are talking about truth. The kingdom of darkness, it's the evil one. So each time, the human person has the evil and the good living in him, so you have these clashes, let alone, talking about different individuals. So we are in camps that are led by these two spiritual forces. So there's always that clash. There's always that clash, but the light always wins.
And in the light of what you're seeing, the government thinks that the international non-governmental organizations and some media organs make up part of the what you call the kingdom of darkness, where lies
it doesn't matter what they think.
False information is being published here and there in reports, facts inflated, figures inflated, and so on.
No, at the end of the day, if they accuse and say the international community is lying, at the end of the day, the international community might say, okay, we'll want to come in and then do our own investigations, and at the time, then everybody will know the truth. The truth can never hide. It doesn't matter what you are saying. So if the government is saying that the international bodies are lying, fine and good, but sooner or later, because let's not forget that, of course, let's say one thing, Cameroon is a sovereign nation, and then you can do your business the way you want. But in as much as you are a sovereign nation, you are independent, but there's interdependence, and you are also dependent. So it doesn't matter, we say all those things, but when it comes to money, we go begging, and then we are all over the whole place begging and so on. But when people are saying do this like this so that you don't have to be begging, we don't listen to that. But the bottom line is that we will have to change our management strategies, otherwise we'll be digging ourselves a deeper grave. We have to sit up, because it doesn't matter, in as much as we are arguing about who is right, who is wrong, more people are dying, more soldiers are dying, more Anglophones are dying, be they Amber or not, more civilians, children, women. There's no reason for anybody to die. The bottom line is that we should sit down and solve these problems once and for all, instead of running around in circles blaming people.
Solving the problem.
Yeah.
How?
Well, even before we had the national dialogue, you know, we talked about it long ago. I had looked in the crystal ball and said that the solution to the problems in Cameroon, including the Anglophone problem, is a confederation breaking the nation into two confederal states, you know, West Cameroon and East Cameroon. Then you come within each confederal state and break it up into the regions. Okay, the Northwest, Southwest functioning under the West Cameroon, then the other 8 functioning under East Cameroon, and then you build the capital of East Cameroon on the Ebebda. Then you go in the constitution, change a couple of things, and say what an Anglophone is going to be a president in this nation, and to also say if the Anglophone is too stupid to be a president, we write in the constitution that he is too stupid to be a president, so that Anglophones forget that they can ever be president. We need to, you know, state down these things instead of kicking people around. If people are reacting like that, it's because people get the impression that they have been marginalized and kicked around for too long. And you know, when I'm saying marginalized, I'm not the one saying it. You know, the president in France himself, with Mo Ibrahim, said that they have been trying to squeeze Anglophones into a tight corner. But it looks like the more you squeeze them, the more they're hardened or something like that. So we need to change the strategy. If you're trying to do something that doesn't work, change the strategy. And there's no reason anyway to squeeze anybody. Everybody has a right to be a Cameroonian. Everybody has a right to be who he is in this nation. We should only look for a formula that works so that people can do their business without being pushed around. And if you let people express themselves and be part of the development, this country will actually grow. There's no need, government cannot do everything, and we need to change strategies in this nation.
Doctor, what do you think about a negotiated settlement?
What is a negotiated settlement? I don't understand what it is.
Settlement, in negotiation between the government and those who are standing for separation, Dr. Sako and all the rest.
Well, I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means, but I know one thing. What Ambassador Tigo Nagy is saying is the right. Tigo Nagy is the right thing to do. Let's all, the government and the separatists, sit at table and talk around this thing and come to this point where you see how, you know, you can live together and do things in a way that everybody feels comfortable in their house. Because if people had taken up arms and have become very aggressive, is because of this thing where you don't want people to be themselves, where you don't give people their share of the bread, and you think that others have to be kicked around as slaves. That's the only problem. I said it was an issue of marginalization. So let us come to a place where we recognize each other, where there is truth, where there is love, where there is respect, and where there is merit. And once you do that and you put in place a confederal system where people can be and you are over there, then you have some common things that you talk about, then there will be peace. And I would take advantage of being here again to say that, please look, when Mr. Tibo Nagy is talking about, when he uses the word decentralization, it's not in the same context as is used by the Cameroon government. And I was explaining...
He said it stands for a unified Cameroon.
Yes.
And that the government should be more serious with the issue of a genuine decentralization, a genuine peace process.
Correct. Let me explain that word decentralization, because that's where it's causing a problem. You know, decentralization, according to the Cameroonian government thinks that decentralization is making the 10 regions to become, I don't know what they are, you know, but that is not it, and that will not solve the Anglophone problem. You know, Anglophones say, the minimum the Anglophones were asking was, let's go back to the 1961 situation. Now, but if we were to go back there and you know, change the federation into a confederation, it would be better, because those terms have matured over time. And then look at this whole thing again and then recraft the whole nation so that everybody feels at home. It would work. Now, when the Europeans and the Americans are using the word decentralization, you know, it's the opposite of one thing. We are now a centralized, we are very centralized, a centralized government. What is written in the books is one thing, but the way we function is centralized. So decentralization means give power and money and opportunities to the periphery to be able to solve their problems. And in doing so, they know of federation, they know of confederation. So when he is saying decentralized, he means federation or confederation. We now need to go, probably the Swiss talks, to actually sit down and find out if it's a confederation, how are we going to do it so that it works. That is the thing. So please, my Anglophone brothers who are everywhere, stop insulting Chief Minister, or that His Excellency Thibaut Nagy. Just please stop insulting him. You are shooting yourself in the foot. And to say that this international organization, just because they are seeking for the truth and seeking for the way forward, they are destabilizing the country, is a story for another day.
Dr. Nick Ngoyam, thanks for coming.
My pleasure.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. That's it for today.